Achieving the mastered sound while keeping a wide dynamic range. The mastered sound is very popular these days, but does it always have to come at the expense of dynamic range? I'm David Mellor, Course Director of Audio Masterclass. I've been reading some interesting material on dynamic range recently. It was Dynamic Range Day on March the 16th, just a few days ago from today. My point of view is that I hate the overmastered sound as much as anyone else. Except perhaps for the people in record label A&R departments. They're the people who decide what we're allowed to hear. They all seem to think that louder equals better. It does up to a certain point, but many people in the industry feel that current releases go far beyond the limits of acceptability. But when I say that I hate the overmastered sound, it doesn't mean that I hate the mastered sound. No, in fact I love to hear mastering tastefully done. It can turn a good mix into a powerful mix, improving both frequency balance and the overall impact of the sound. Does mastering always have to reduce dynamic range though? We are often led to believe that it does, but in fact it doesn't have to. Let's look at a definition of dynamic range. One common definition of dynamic range is the difference between the peak and the RMS level of a signal. Since the peak level in a commercial release is nearly always at full scale, which is 0 dBFS, then the mastering process will level out the peaks, bring them up to 0 dBFS, and then bring up the RMS level, and thus it will reduce the dynamic range. If the difference between the peak and the RMS level is less than around 12 decibels, then the music will start to suffer. Less than 8 decibels, then the sound will be aggressive and harsh. 14 decibels between peak and RMS, which we can call DR14, is thought to be a reasonable difference to aim for to preserve dynamic range. But you could look at dynamic range from a more musical point of view. Suppose, for example, that the RMS level of a song was -8 dB during a loud section. The peaks would be at 0 dBFS, so this would represent DR8 and the sound will probably be a little harsh. But maybe it's meant to sound a little harsh if it's a loud section of the song. Maybe the song has a quieter section where the RMS level is around -20 dB, and the peaks will probably be a little lower than 0 dBFS in this section. Musically speaking, it would be reasonable to say that the dynamic range of this song is 12 decibels when comparing the loud section and the quiet section. So here's a thought. What about mastering the loud sections and quiet sections of this song separately? The loud sections could be mastered in the conventional way. The quiet sections could be mastered in a similar way, but the peak levels held down to -12 dBFS or so, and the RMS levels possibly 10 or 12 decibels below that. Both the loud and the quiet sections can now have a similar mastered sound, but in musical terms there is indeed a dynamic range, 12 or more decibels in fact, comparing either the peaks of the loud sections to the peaks of the quiets, or the RMS levels of the loud sections to the RMS levels of the quiets. There is a little bit of food for thought here. Normally an entire mix is mastered with the same parameters, but if a song varies in level as performed, then there is a case for varying the mastering parameters as the song progresses. It could combine the best features of mastering done well with the louds and quiets that modern music often so desperately lacks.